Today we're going to be discussing nutrition, exercise, and their application in sport. And to help us with this task is Kate McDaid. She is a nutritionist. She began her academic nutrition path, I would say, in UCD. But by way of introduction, Kate, where did your love of nutrition begin?
Hi, first of all, thanks so much for having me.
And welcome.
Great to be here. So it probably would have stemmed back to when I started playing basketball, kind of when I started out in secondary school. I kind of moved up the ranks, so to speak, in that side of sport. I started to begin to see a bit of a pattern, and that was that, not just training had an impact on how I perform as an athlete. So playing with the Irish team, I was introduced to different nutritionists. So you get bits of information here and there and you try to implement as best you can. And I kind of saw, the more I started to
tweak that.
Yeah, a little. Now I was 15, 16 at the time, so you're tweaking marginally, but you had an idea that I needed to eat a bit more to fuel what I was doing.
And what kind of, I suppose, what kind of nutritional advice is a 15/16-year-old getting, maybe whatever amount of years ago that was, where nutrition wasn't as important as it is today?
Yeah, back then, that's only going back 10 years now, which is making me feel really old, so thank you.
Thank you.
But so as you said, there wasn't as big an emphasis. I don't think that, unless you're really, really elite, I don't think there was too much notice taken as there is today across all sports. So in that instance, it was kind of basic stuff in the sense that, very black and white, actually.
Carbohydrates before training, that kind of thing?
It's actually surprising that people don't realise that even today. There's some people that, wouldn't see what we think might be basic. Other people, it's a whole new world to them. But, back then it was kind of, good and bad foods and things like that. Obviously staying away from junk food and, things like, if you're training more, you need to eat more. All basic stuff, but for a lot of us, I did home economics, so you kind of touch on it slightly there. But that's kind of how basic the knowledge we were getting from our nutritionist would have been. You also have to remember at 15, 16, a lot of us aren't responsible for what we eat, in terms of responsibility goes to parents. So working with that age group, you have to be mindful of that also. But when I was in fourth year, then I actually got to work with a nutritionist just for 2 weeks for work placement, and that's really where I used to be a little brat in school. I would play anything to get out of class, if truth be known. So that was the first time where I was like, hold on, this is academic and I really like this.
It's bizarre.
Yeah, so from there, that actually kind of got
me. It's a privileged position to kind of know that you really want to do something at 16.
Oh
or
my
15.
God, say no more. Even I have friends now who are still figuring it out, and
right.
I'm so fortunate that it was clear enough that, oh my God, this is what I want to do. And if you look at how I got there, it was kind of a loopy way in the sense that I did food science as my undergrad, maybe, as opposed to nutrition or dietetics, and then went on to do my master's over in Loughborough University in sport and exercise nutrition. So I didn't go probably the
direct route.
Yeah, the direct route, but I got there. So anyone listening who's freaking out about what they want to do or whatever, know that you will get there eventually, so no matter what way it might be. So
and pre kind of getting into the nutrition side of things, and pre your 2 week stint in fourth year with the nutritionist, what did your diet look like, and what did you think was good, and did you just say fats are bad, and the typical kind of general thoughts on nutrition?
Good question. I actually was very blasé, so to speak. I'm lucky in the sense that I've come from a family where home cooked food was always the norm, kind of cooking from scratch, which is you know, kind of, I see it as maybe a normal thing, but for a lot of people it's not normal, you know, and particularly now with, you know, fast-paced lives and people are so busy and working so much, it's difficult for people to take time out all the time and, you know, put it towards making a home-cooked meal and things like that. We kind of want stuff now and we want it on the go, which is fair.
10-minute meals.
Yes, exactly. That's life. But I was lucky. I came, you know, things were cooked from scratch. I always had vegetables on my plate. I'm not a fussy eater. So I kind of ate as I was given. And, you know, I, like everyone, like I enjoyed my chocolate. I still enjoy my chocolate. I probably...
You're human is what you're
exactly,
saying.
yeah. And those things are there to be enjoyed also, so that's not to be forgotten about. But I probably would have eaten more kind of junky stuff. Like I'd have my decent meals. I, you know, eat well overall, but I would have...
Are you one of those people who's got like the lucky ones that has a constitution where you like in your younger years at least you could eat what you wanted and get away with it, so to speak?
Well, I was training like a mad woman.
Okay,
so,
right. So
you're, yeah, training
you're burning
days.
it.
Oh my God, yeah. I was so lucky because I definitely, if I wasn't training as much, I wouldn't have been able to maintain.
Right.
Because I just was like, whatever, any young girl, free for all, just whatever. I ate as I pleased.
Interesting. And when you started in UCD, and what was it like? What were the kind of big I suppose key learnings that you got from that? And then you were like, all right, I kind of want to look. I'm already in sport. I kind of want to like. Then you wanted to advance it, and you went over to Loughborough. I was when I was reading it, I said Loughborough, like, you know, but it's obviously Loughborough. Right?
Loughborough, yeah.
Yeah.
It took me a bit of getting used to it.
And like, I mean, what did you learn there that you were like, that's something that I thought the opposite before I went, you know, into it?
Yeah, it wasn't really so much in UCD because I did food science, so that was looking more at kind of the mechanics. It was looking at food processing. Yeah, you did a bit of nutrition, but it was more kind of the chemistry of food and things like that, which I found extremely interesting. But I did, from a young age, I did always know that I wanted to go. I wanted to work with people. I didn't want to work with machines. I didn't want to really work in a lab so much.
On the technical side of things.
Yeah, that wasn't really for me. So I knew, you know, I actually have a good friend who I played basketball with. She was a few years my senior, and she went to Loughborough, and that's kind of, you know, got it into my head. And then further research, I realised there was no real better place to go. So it was there. You know, as you looked at nutrition more as like in the full picture and looked at sports performance in particular, that there was a few things, more so probably in terms of common myths, like back in the day, I guess, and I hold my hands up in the sense that I would have thought things like there was particular food groups that, you know, that was the reason why you're putting on weight or things like that.
Yeah.
Whereas now we know that, you know, if you're looking at weight loss or weight maintenance, things like calories are the main thing. And then you look at things like proteins, probably the most important after that. And then fats and carbs, like as long as you can maintain your calorie deficit, you're going to lose weight. So whether that's, if you can do that by having carbs there, great, or if you prefer just to have a high fat, high protein diet.
Calories in, calories out, yeah.
To an extent, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm very much simplifying it there. But I mean, I'd be interested to get what's your philosophy, and like what diet, without sounding trite, what diet do you prescribe to? Or do you prescribe to a diet, or do you just, you know, eat like foods that you judge to be nutritionally sound? Yeah,
so I suppose I kind of look at it from, I feel like nutrition is often over complicated, so it's making my information you know, easy to understand. The things I'm prescribing are attainable and accessible to that person, and it's combining kind of research with my own experience. And when you're looking at a person, like, we're all very much individuals, so it'd be wrong of me to say, oh, only this way, you know, is the be all and end all.
Yeah, if you plant a flag anywhere, you know, it's bound to get, like, you know, the terrain's going to change, that kind of thing. Exactly. So if you say ketogenic diet, or if you say, like, you know, carb loading, it's, you know, you're kind of fixing yourself in a position where if research comes out that's better, then
yeah, exactly. So or like in terms of like if one thing works for you, whether that would be like low carb, like it'd be very wrong of me to be like, oh well, like I don't agree with that, so we're not going to go with that. Like we need to, when you're dealing with people, it's finding something that, you know, they're low hanging fruit, like finding something that they can adhere to. Because a big problem is often you see, particularly with fad diets and stuff, like people lose weight, you know, more times than not when they go on them.
Right.
But how many of those people maintain that weight?
Yeah, we're talking about like serious crash dieting and, you know, yo-yo dieting where like, you know, someone can hold it for like maybe 2 or 3 weeks and then they're just like, this is miserable.
Yeah, and so either they're miserable, and a lot of it's to do with not having a good understanding. It's like doing as you're told without kind of questioning why you're being told to do that. So one thing that I'd look to do is, you know, give people a clear understanding so that they're empowered by the information that they're given, so that eventually they don't need me or they don't need anyone else. They can make conscious decisions. They can live their life. They can enjoy those things that they like while understanding how that can be worked into their diet to maintain what they've already achieved.
And I'm kind of interested to kind of jump a little bit to after Loughborough. And you worked with one of like the United Kingdom's like, you know, best nutrition consultancies, and like what did you do there? Like as in I'm kind of, you worked with elite sports teams, day to day. Can you just run me through it, because a lot of listeners be like, oh, I want to do nutrition, but
yeah, of course. I was very, very fortunate. My plan was always to go to Loughborough, stay the year, get what I needed, and come home. Right. And then I came across this consultancy, and you know, I landed on my feet, so to speak. I went in there. Now it was an unpaid internship. So one thing I will say is, like, I worked extremely hard, and like everything, you do need to work hard if you want to get to where you want to be. So just prepare to work hard before I go anywhere else. It's important to know.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I was very fortunate in the sense that this consultancy, it was quite small, it was tight-knit, so I got exposure to a lot of different things. So not only did I get to, you know, I wasn't allowed, so to speak, go in and work with clients straight off the bat, but I got to sit in on different consultations. So that would be with elite teams. So we worked with British weightlifting, Leicester County cricket, a lot of individual athletes in athletics. I got to kind of see the whole marketing side of things too, because that's an important part of business. You need to
market yourself, it's
exactly,
very important. Yeah.
And particularly in this day and age where, you know, social media is so prevalent, and it's such a useful tool for all its negative sides. It's extremely useful. So I got to see the marketing side of things, and then I guess I got to work on, you know, things for our websites or our social media content in terms of, you know, writing different pieces and things like that. So I really got a well-rounded kind of insight into
holistic view of things.
Not only clients from a weight loss, health and performance perspective, but then I also got the whole businessy side, even you know, seeing different interactions between different members of staff and things. You know, really it was just fully loaded,
warts and all experience.
So it was great. So a big thing with being a nutritionist, or, you know, working with people, it's kind of, you need to be very lucky with who your mentor is, or you need to be kind of well tuned in, because it's very easy to get led astray, so to speak, or just because there's so many voices in this industry now, as the kind of
it's oversaturated, isn't it?
Kind of, and a lot of it is, you know, people who've, not a lot of it, but there are quite a few people who, you know, jumped on the health and fitness bandwagon, like, and, you know, they just make a noise. So
it's a good way to describe
confusing. So I was blessed with my mentor. He was a very, very intelligent man, and a really, really good nutritionist. So I was very fortunate.
So Kate, to kind of stick you on that point, with like, I suppose with that noise and like the filter, like a lot of people talk about this, and it's really important, and like for the listeners as well, is how do you filter it? Like for someone like me, or for someone out there who doesn't know, and they're like, well, this guy seems to know what he's talking about, but she's also saying something completely opposite, but they have the same accreditation.
Yeah.
And it's not even a case of, like someone's really like, has a really long line of, accreditations behind their name or letters behind their name, and like if you have two people on the same level, or you just have someone who's talking good advice but doesn't have those accreditations, how do you filter that? Like, what's your rule of thumb?
That's a really good question, because it is extremely difficult, and so many times it's contradictory advice here, there, everywhere. I think with any information, like accreditation does help to an extent, but I think approach kind of information critically. It's like taking responsibility for the information you're taking on board.
Right, this is what you're saying, questioning the
information. Like don't just
take...
Often if someone's preaching one way and that's the only way forward, like that would make me apprehensive straight away.
Still real.
Often if it sounds too good to be true as well, like it often
too dogmatic kind of thing.
Yeah, like it's not as black and white, and as well, like there'd be people like Danny Lennon. He runs a podcast called Sigma Nutrition.
Right.
You get really good advice there. Prism Nutrition is another one. Like there's people in the industry who I'd like hold in high regard. So they'd be kind of people that I'd go to. Eric Helms. There's a few big names. Martin McDonald. A few big names there that we identifies. Food Flicker's another one. So
cool.
Yeah.
And also with that, I suppose the other thing I want to talk to you about is, because you mentioned it a good bit on your website, and is peer-reviewed articles and you looking at them for the best new up-to-date information.
Yeah.
Like, on what kind of basis? A weekly, a daily basis? Are you looking at things, trying to stay up with trends? Because it's like a rolling snowball. It's gaining momentum, I suppose.
It is. It's mental. So, like there'll be people that I follow on social media who would throw out different new kind of peer-reviewed research that's out there. So you'd kind of flick through and you'd see different things, and so that could be every day, it could be every second day. It also depends on kind of your own schedule. Like I try and read as much as I can, as often as I can. But yeah, it can be like 1 week I might get through a good few new papers, and another week I mightn't get through that much. So it just kind of keeping your ear to the ground as best you can. So there'll be different groups as well on Facebook that I might be part of, where it's kind of like-minded individuals, and they'd be throwing different things that they've come across back and forth. So you mightn't always get to look into the crux of things, but at least if you have an idea, it's something that then is there, so you can go back to when you do get a bit more free time. But yeah, it's like trying to stay on top of it as best you can, and then combining that with kind of your experiences working with different people, and see how they complement each other, to get the best for your client and for those you work with.
Right, because you're trying to individualize all the time, like unless you're dealing with a team, but then you're still like individualizing to a certain extent, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like as I said, there's so many like nutrition and health performance, it's multifaceted, so there's so many different things that come into play. So you could give the most sound advice nutritionally, but if that doesn't fall into place in someone's lifestyle, or if you're giving them information that's not, that isn't accessible when you translate it to real life situations, it's irrelevant. So you have to kind of take a very much multifaceted approach. So it's seeing, what environment they're in, what their motivators are, where they're at themselves, things like that, mentally as well as physically. So
yeah, that's an interesting one, because we're talking about nutrition there, but I also want to talk about exercise and you making recommendations for your clients in terms of exercise, and like you're talking about motivation there as well. So like how much of your job is sort of like it's like a sort of armchair psychologist where you're trying to motivate your client, but like they have to have their own motivation as well.
Yeah, like nutrition's is difficult in the sense that you can make stuff as easy as possible, or as accessible as possible, but well, I suppose the same with training too. It's like that person mentally has to be present. You have to want to change. Like, it depends, obviously, how drastic that change might be makes it easier or more difficult. But it's a lot of it's to do with trying to change behaviors as well as anything else. So obviously you'd like people to stay active, to stay fit. So you'd encourage things like maybe at the weekend, meeting up with friends or family, like, can that be, instead of going maybe for food, or would it be good to go for a walk? Increasing activity that way. Like, some people, like, the gym's not for everyone, or joining a sports team isn't for everyone, even though I actually firmly believe that there's a team out there for everyone. Like, you don't need to be competing at an extremely high level, but just from a social perspective, and from a kind of values.
Research would back that up as well. Like, the book by Sebastian Junger, Tribe, is like everyone wants to be part of a group.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I definitely do think there is a team there for everyone.
I like that.
Yeah, no, I firmly do believe that. And just from myself, my own experiences, like, yes, I play competitive sport. Even
You're
up
obviously
to
quite
now.
competitive.
I'm a very competitive human being, I must say, but I've gotten so much from being part of a team. So aside from even the competitive side of it, having people there that always back you, that have your back even when you might be playing well, or you've got other stresses in life, like coming to a place where you just get that relief of 90 minutes of working out. You're working with a group of people for one common good, and it's really a special thing to be a part of.
Right.
So yeah, so I would try and encourage that, whether that, CrossFit's been a massive kind of explosion over the last few years, and I can't say it would be my favorite type of training or my go-to or anything like that.
It's got a lot of critics as well.
Yeah, but it gives people a team, so to speak. It gives, and it's increasing activity levels. So who am I to take that away from anyone?
Right.
So so there are benefits there. So it's trying to kind of make working out as as pleasurable as possible.
Yeah, and I think on your website, I'm gonna misquote the last one, but it is easy, attainable, and something else. So it's very much like, say, if someone isn't into, like, I don't know, the gym, then make it about something else. Like, make it a hike,
exactly,
on the weekend, or something, or if they're not into weights, then body weight exercises or climbing or something. You know? Just make it accessible for them. Also, I'm kind of curious, if we step away from, I think we were just like there, we're talking about like the everyday client, like the listener, or someone who's just like on the precipice of beginning a diet. It is January, or just starting out an exercise regime. But like, when you get to dealing with like elite professional athletes, like, can you talk about like how like the gears shift, how it changes? Like, how, like, when people are on and they're switched on, they're like, they're aligned with their goals, so to speak, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Like, how is it different?
Yeah, well, again, it's going back to like the motivation there. It's like, if it's, whether it's amateur, it depends kind of what level they're at. But, there's that motivation there to be better, to be the best. Like, there's incentive in terms of, you want to get that cup, you want to get that trophy. So very often in that situation, people, the information's given and it's just done. Again, whether you're dealing with, like, if you're looking at it as a team perspective, they're still individuals though, so it'd be wrong to go in and just blanket information, because although the motivation's there, you can still come up short. If it's not tailored to some degree, if you're not, if the pieces don't fit with the overall picture. So going back to their lifestyle, things like that. But yeah, you'd have to look at things then, like, you're looking at is there any supplements to give them, you know, because it's all about marginal gain.
Yeah,
so
right. 0.1% increase, you know.
everything else.
For a sprinter, right?
Yeah. So you're trying to incorporate good habits, make sure the basics are completely thorough, you know, everyone's kind of, you know, very strong on that level, and then it's all about kind of what can I get, what can I get to make that, you know, to get that up a gear, to move that up a percent.
Are you ever kind of like shocked at, you know, with the individuals you encounter, and you're like, wow, I thought I was working hard, you know?
In terms of
like, I mean, you know, diet or exercise or just commitment to, you know, getting better at their sport.
Yeah, like some people, even.
Or
like,
are you comparing it to yourself, and you're like, well, I get up at 5 o'clock every morning, so.
Oh no, people surprise me the whole time, and even because you can be your own worst critic, but like, as in, I don't deny, like, I do work hard, but so do like loads of other people, and sometimes I meet people, I'm like, oh my God, Kate, maybe you need to up the gear again.
Yeah,
like,
there's levels, like,
so
right?
People are amazing, like, in what they do and how hard they work, and you know, that's why, you know, there's always people out there to inspire you and to give you, you know, to make you look at other areas of your life, you know, more closely. And I think that's the great thing about meeting so many new people in my job, is I get to meet people who inspire me, who get to, you know, change my perspective, or, you know, help me become better at what I do all the time. So and that's not just from a work perspective, but even, you know, looking at my own performance as an athlete, like or as a friend, as a family member, as a partner. Do you know, it's great. It's you know, that's why I love what I do, because I get to meet so many new people, and I help them, but they also help me.
Yeah, it's very obvious from like the way you're talking that it's very much about like helping people, interacting with people. I think that's your, you know, that's your reward, I think, rather than, you know, seeing someone get jacked or something like that, which is like, it's good, but, you know.
Yeah, well, it's great when someone comes here and
they're really happy
watch them progress. Like, that's so rewarding, and seeing how, you know, that means so much to them. But yeah, I love helping people. I love seeing that progression. So,
and can you talk about like you're back in Ireland now? Mm-hmm. How long are you back?
I moved back last April.
Yeah. And what are you like? What's going on at the moment with the website? With being a nutritionist, you're involved with a lot of teams. What are you excited for now? And like, what are you trying to create in the next year?
Yeah, well, good question. Yeah, so at the moment, as you said, I'm working with a lot of teams. So I'm working with the county football team there. So we're just on the we're going into the league now next week. So seeing like progression there would be, you know, that's my main priority now, like helping the lads move up a division, and, you know, achieve the success that we've set out to achieve would be like, that's a main priority to me and for me right now, and that's something that really excites me. So that I've got another kind of training and nutrition plan. I've teamed up with a really good PT here in Dublin actually, and we're creating training and nutrition program for specifically for women actually. Right. So that's hopefully going to launch in the next few weeks. So that's something that, you know, means a lot to me, and it's been great to kind of put together. So there's a few little bits and bobs that, you know, I'm really looking forward to.
They're coming up.
Yeah, a few things in the pipeline now, so we'll see. But like, it's just been mental. Like, I started Nutriclate back in June, and just even from then until now, like, so many things have cropped up which I hadn't anticipated, like, which have been amazing. And then you've got other things where, you know, a few things that you thought would pull through and didn't. So it's a constant kind of up and down. You have great days, and you've got days where you're like, oh no. But you know, it's part and parcel, but it's great. So I think that's the the good thing about working for yourself and having your own kind of business is that, you know, things are so exciting because, you know, there's so many possibilities.
Right,
so,
and you choose your own path. Like, it's not like
Yeah,
you're getting told do this, do that. Like,
yeah, so we'll see. A few things in the pipeline, so hopefully they'll
Yeah,
all come
I'm sure
coming
they
out
will.
soon.
And I'm sort of interested. It's kind of jumping back to nutrition again. But you worked as this is more of a personal question. You worked as a fashion model for a time, and
Yeah.
then you got into bikini and bikini competing, bikini modeling, I suppose. And I suppose the fashion industry and fashion modeling has a bad rap for diet, right?
Yes.
Nutrition. But I want to know from there to bikini modeling and bikini fitness modeling, competing in that kind of sphere. Is that should that have a reputation of like kind of bad dieting habits, because they cut weight and they use salts and Epsom salts, and you know they dehydrate themselves before competition. You know, is it as bad as, you know, people would think, or is it?
Yeah, no, great question. So I guess the bikini competing, like, that's something that kind of found me as opposed to I was doing a fitness blog at the time, and it was kind of what people wanted to see. It was on the cusp of where you know, well, now that industry has it's just massive.
Yeah,
but
it's
it was
exploded.
Yeah, exactly. So it was kind of on the way up, and I was like, oh well, I knew I was going to Loughborough, and I was like, oh, maybe it'd be a good learning curve for me if I ever work with someone who's going to compete. I know what they're feeling like and things like that. Yeah, like everything, like, people are going to go to the extreme.
Right.
You know, you are putting your body through a lot. It's a mental challenge as well as a physical challenge. And very easily it can become something that, you know, you obsess over. It does take priority, and to be top, it needs to take priority. So, you know, other things get sacrificed. You know, like social life, like your other halves are going to have to take a back seat, deal with a few kind of moody moments that you might have,
Right. Gotcha.
things like that. So I think, you know, it can be controlled. I don't think it's the best way to live your life. People get a lot from it and really enjoy it, and they have no issues. Other people then, you know, find themselves where maybe they've developed a few bad relationships with food and things like that.
Body dysmorphia, whatnot.
Yeah, like there's like when you're testing yourself like that.
Right.
You have
Yeah,
to be,
you're
know,
really
you're playing
pushing
with
yourself
fire
to the
the
limit.
next. Yeah, exactly.
I like that. You're playing with fire.
Yeah, so, you know, you have to be aware of that, and I think that's when having a good trainer, having a good nutritionist, that's, you know, they're very important. Have good sounding boards to keep you sane.
Good, like, social anchors, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. So personally for me, I did it once and I'd never do it again. Like, I did. People were like, "You'll step on stage, you'll love it." I couldn't
Been there,
wait.
done that.
Yeah, I was like, "Please, someone remove me from it." I just didn't like. But now I know a few people who absolutely love it.
Well, it's really it's like a good thing to have as a nutritionist, right? That you can kind of say that I've been there. I know what the kind of like trials and tribulations that people go to, like leading in and cutting weight and stuff. So,
well, it's another kind of, I suppose, perspective you can offer. Yeah, and I'm like, I am happy I personally challenged myself and I did it and whatever. But yeah, I suppose if people think I can empathise with them, you know, it's kind of a nice reassurance for people. I don't think it's necessary, but I'm happy I have it.
Yeah, and I think, like, you know, it's in a way sort of bedside manner with a client is very important, and if you can say, like, I've been there, you know, I've been through that, then you're kind of making the gap between you and your client like smaller, and you're kind of making you seem human. So you're like, listen, like, I know what you're going through to an extent, that kind of thing. It's valuable. Running out of time here, so I just want to get you for some like quick fire questions, just short ones. Yeah. Don't worry, you won't be put on the spot. So what book are you reading at the moment? Are you a big reader?
Yeah,
Are you a podcaster?
Podcasts. I've actually moved to audiobooks now, so
Nice.
I think it's Amazon Audible. I'm using.
Audible, yeah.
Yeah, because I basically am on the road so much now. I've bought loads of books and every best intention, but actually getting around to them after you've spending hours.
Yeah.
You're in front of a laptop all day. Like the last thing you want to do is like your eyes are wrecked. So I've started to listen to audiobooks now. So I'm actually listening to Legacy at the moment. I can't remember who, but basically it's about the All Blacks and looking at their preparation and their mindset and things like that. So
Nice.
and I'm halfway through another book which I managed to kind of read a bit on when I was on holidays there a few weeks ago, called The Joy of Half a Cookie. Again, it'd be lovely if I knew who wrote these books.
That's
but I
fine.
can't
You know,
really.
the title is enough. You know, people have Google, people have the internet.
But that's again about mindfulness, because
Yeah,
that's a
presence
massive
and-
part. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And I want like a hack for, you know, your daily life. You know, daily routine, like whether it's like cold showers, whether it's I don't know, a alarm clock that wakes you up, or I don't know, shutting off like stuff before you go to bed. It's not doesn't have to do with sleep, but just something like a daily habit that people can incorporate.
I think one thing that's often underestimated is going back to kind of spending long hours in front of your laptop. Don't be afraid to take a break. Walk around, get some fresh air, and return back. Like, I don't know how many times, even from my own perspective, like you're sitting in front of a screen and you're literally just sitting in front of the screen. You're being unproductive.
Yeah.
So, you know,
like zoned out.
yeah. So take time to kind of get your head back in a good place. You know, go out for a walk, and take a break, and don't be anxious that you're taking a break. Would be.
And then also, I suppose, with like food and nutrition,
Yeah.
what's something that, you know, people can do, just like incorporate it in, that won't be, you know, cut out carbs, or, you know, include this or include that, but just something simple, or just a rule of thumb.
I think kind of keeping your diet varied, so making sure you're getting, you know, plenty of, you know, different veg, different sources of protein. So that's like your fish, your poultry, your meat, dairy, eggs, like keeping everything varied. Often people think, shouldn't eat frozen fruit and vegetables, but like if that means that you're eating fruit and vegetables,
Right.
get it. If it means that you're not wasting food, brilliant. If it means that you can have you know, variety in your diet, or you always have that accessible, you know, it's good. It's a good source of vitamins and minerals. So, you know, have it in your freezer.
Nice.
So just keep things varied.
And on a kind of contrasting note, and a final note, what is your number one cheat meal? Cheat meal, cheap food.
Okay, so I enjoy. I love chocolate. Not that that's it. I wouldn't even see it as cheap foods, cheap meals, and things like that.
It's bad to frame it like that.
That's
me.
It's not bad, but it's just like, I personally wouldn't go down that route. But it's like, you know, it's something that I enjoy. That my diet shouldn't be solely chocolate, but it's definitely probably like, it's definitely something I really enjoy to eat. That often people probably be like, "Ooh." Are you sure you want to eat that?
There's a kind of there's an image, or like I suppose a presumption, that like if you were to go to university and study nutrition and you're at lunch, that everyone, like if you update a chocolate bar, everyone would lean over and be like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, no, it's same with everything. It's in like as
There's
long as there's not, like, I'm not eating a chocolate bar morning, noon, and night, or it's not like throwing me over so that it's throw me over, put me into a massive calorie surplus that I'm, making, putting my health at risk in terms of, by increasing my,
you're not putting yourself in jeopardy, or you're
Yeah,
not kind of
like
doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah, like as in staying active, you know, having meals that you enjoy here and there, like, it isn't a bad thing.
And there's some beautiful recipes on your website, and suggestions and stuff that you should cook with, and even on social media you use a lot of different kind of I suppose inspirational kind of cooking techniques and stuff like that. Are you the type of person that weighs your food? Do you do that? Is it pre-competition, or do you not, or is it just when you're making a recipe of something and you need 100 grams of this?
Yeah, so when I competed, I weighed everything.
Religious,
Yeah,
right.
really, it had to be done. Now I don't, like, the odd things. I might weigh the odd things. Particularly if I'm trying to do a recipe that I know I want to put up on my website, I have to weigh stuff.
Yeah,
Because
makes sense.
a lot of time I cook and I'm literally like throwing stuff in and like, I think this would be nice, like chuck it in, and then I'm like, okay, now I can't put that up because I've no idea what went in. So yeah, you know what food went in, but you've no idea of
And
quantity.
you gotta, like, kind of harking back to your last point, you've got to be aware of what you're eating and don't put your goals in jeopardy. So for example, like, you know, a massive tablespoon of peanut butter might just like skyrocket your calories for the day or whatever.
Yeah, there's so many things that we don't realize are kind of making all our calories add up. So yeah, it is being aware. Portion size is a massive thing for a lot of people. You know, kind of often we like load our plates and it's like food we're not even, we're full with 3/4 of the plate gone, or
Yeah.
but we still finish the quarter because it's in front of us.
It's the half-eaten cookie, or whatever the name of the title of your book. You
Yeah,
know, being mindful of
exactly.
your own, satiety, I suppose.
Exactly. So tuning in to like what you're eating and like your surroundings, and actually tasting the food that you're eating as well is a big thing.
It plays a big part. Like, if you're like aware of every bite, then you kind of feel fuller quicker.
Exactly. So that's, things like not being on your phone when you're eating a meal, taking time out, like, just to be in your own kind of space and being very aware of yourself. And literally, being mindful of what's going into your body. So yeah.
I'm afraid that's all we have time for. But Kate, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
I'm
so
sure a
much.
load of people will gain from this.